Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good morning, everybody. This one I'll be sending out. I did one earlier. It's pretty personal, so now that I'm putting it on Podbean. But I figured I should probably stick to what I do and kind of do a regular daily trudge with today's daily reflection, which is true brotherhood. Looks like we are going to be in the 12 steps, 12 traditions, page 53, which is probably step 4. Good chance it's step 4. This is the 4th month. Daily reflection tends to follow that. Oh, look at that. Step 4. I'm going to give it a little bit longer and then we'll get started here. Yeah, we need to understand what true brotherhood is and working with each other. Every relationship is what is called a give and take relationship. And the numbers may vary, but you can't do more than 100%, if that makes sense. So that means giving half the time and taking half the time. I don't know how many times I've listened to a couple say, well, I give and give and give, and you just don't seem to appreciate it. If both sides are doing nothing but giving and nobody is taking, then both people are going to feel unappreciated. Also, knowing your love language is a good idea. Should cover the love languages while we're here. In fact, why don't we start there? And we're just going to review them. I'm not going to go too deep into it. What are the 4 love languages? Actually, there's 5. But either way, welcome to the Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. I'm the host. If you're here, please say hello, whether watching the live or the rewatch. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So the 5 love languages. First one is words of affirmation. That is the first love language. Good morning, Amber. Good to see you again. I figure I'd do an actual daily trudge for everybody this morning before my day got really started. I go over to a friend's house. We're going to do a band practice. And then there's a bunch of people celebrating this month. So it is also kind of a surprise party for somebody. I'm only not saying their name for anonymity reasons. They don't listen to this, so I'm not worried about that. But the first love language is word of affirmations. Okay. Second is physical touch. Third is quality time. Fourth is acts of service. And the 5th one is receiving gifts. Now, you might have a couple of different love languages. That's okay too. But when you know when you understand the love languages, then it really helps when you're working with other people. All right. So, of course, if you're meeting somebody and you just know them and physical touch is their love language, yeah, you're not required to do that. But when you know this, you can work better with people, right? Once we get to a point in our lives where we have enough emotional sobriety where we actually understand what love is, right? Because we alcoholics tend to confuse that. We're not getting into that part. I just thought love languages was a good idea to understand before we got started. So on this, we're supposed to be on page 53. So let's see if we can let's see. I'm going to go ahead and start on the top of page 52. Amber says we're having a small get together tomorrow for Scott's mom's pre-day. Awesome. We'll spend the day remembering and celebrating her. I think that's a great idea. Good job. I appreciate the celebrating of somebody. I don't think that any person is so awful that there isn't something to celebrate, man. Yeah. It's whether we're willing to see the forest for the trees. You can really find beauty in anything if you search, right? You can also find the bad in anybody if you search. Go with the first one. It was the second one that we always did. So make that switch, right? But all alcoholics who have drunk themselves out of jobs, family, and friends will need to cross-examine themselves ruthlessly to determine how their own personality defects have thus demolished their security. Yeah, I ran everybody off. You know, this was the screwed up part. I knew I was doing it. I knew that I was doing it, and I couldn't help myself. I couldn't help myself. Emma says we're talking about her mother-in-law, who passed about a year ago, wasn't it, Amber? Anyway, her favorite color was red. I found red strawberry shortcake mini cupcakes yesterday. Nummy. Nom 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 nom. The most common symptoms of emotional insecurity are worry, anger, self-pity, and depression. Man. Ouch. I like it when it describes me. These stem from causes which sometimes seem to be within us and at other times to come from without. To take inventory in this respect, we ought to consider carefully all personal relationships which bring continuous or reoccurring trouble. It should be remembered that this kind of insecurity may arise in an area where instincts are threatened. Yeah, we've been talking about instincts a lot over the last week. Our natural desires for survival, for procreation, for money, for prestige. You know, who we are in this life, you know. To take inventory in this respect, we ought to consider carefully all personal relationships which bring continuous or reoccurring trouble. It should be remembered that this kind of insecurity may arise in any area where instincts are threatened. Questioning directed to this end might run like this. Looking at both past and present, what sex situations have caused anxiety, bitterness, frustration, or depression? Appraising each situation fairly, can I see where I have been at fault? Did these perplexities beset me because of selfishness or unreasonable demands? The answer is yes, but we still need to ask these questions of ourselves. This is the honesty of the program. You know, you need to be honest with yourself. And in the beginning, that can be tough. It's not something that a lot of people in this world do. But for alcoholics, it's kind of crucial that we develop these skills. It leads to a much happier and fruitful life. It really does. right? Or if my disturbance was seemingly caused by the behavior of others, why do I lack the ability to accept conditions I cannot change? That's a great question. Why why can I not accept change? Like right now, there's a lot of change going on. A lot of change happening right now. And it's making people very uncomfortable. Right? Well, change isn't comfortable. In fact, if you are comfortable, well, maybe it's time for some change. Maybe it's time for a little bit of change, man. Right? Change isn't bad. Always. Sometimes change is bad. But when it's internal change and we're trying to become better people, then it's not, right? These are the sort of fundamental inquiries that can disclose the source of my discomfort and indicate whether I may be able to alter my own conduct and so adjust myself serenely to self discipline. So, um, I'm going to skip the next paragraph and get to because I'm kind of running out of time here. So, I'm going to get to the next paragraph or the paragraph we need here. It is the first full paragraph on page 53, but it is from our twisted relations with family, friends, and society at large that many of us have suffered the most. We have been especially stupid and stubborn about them. The primary fact that we fail to recognize is our total inability to form a true partnership with another human being. And that's what a lot of us are learning. We've been isolated for a while. Maybe some of us I towards the end of my drinking, I didn't go anywhere. No, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't even go to the bar. Couldn't afford it. That and I couldn't make it. Ah, a little cracking in the neck there. All right. And so if I am to survive, I have to learn how to how to um be one with my brothers and sisters and be a part of something and realize that I don't need to be something of paramount importance in order to fit. Humility. It's humility. Now, I'm going to use something in the meetings. A lot of times you'll hear that men work with men and women work with women. Okay. Now, I don't totally agree with that statement. Sometimes God calls us just to help his children. But this would be one of the reasons why I would think that I would agree with it. Um, Almost every person that I've ever talked to, if I talk to a female in the program, they will tell me I get along better with men than I do women. The men say I get along better with women than I do men. And they are not lying. I get along better. It seems like I tend to get along better with women than men. I I I tend to get along with people who are emotionally secure. Yeah, you know. So, um, so that just understanding that we need to form relationships with both sexes. That but if I see a lady in a meeting and nobody's helping her and she's failing, I'm going to help, even if that means that I need to be her sponsor. That for me, that gender is not a requirement for me. There's so. Um, Hi, Julia. Good morning. Amber says I get along with both. I trust men more typically. Yeah, and it might be part of our upbringing. You know, Air says 9 times out of 10 men are more straightforward. Yeah. Problem is, a lot of men don't share their feelings. They don't know how, or they fear it. And I don't totally blame them. There was There's this meme that was going around where this guy was carrying a couch and he had the other end on like a rolling chair or something like that. And people were like, all you had to do was ask for help. I'm like, he did ask for help. Nobody came to his aid. That's a man's life, man. Kind of is. It's kind of hard. I went to a concert tonight with just men and had a boost. I'm I'm I have a feeling you meant blast. Yeah, there it is. Hey. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I figured you meant last night. You know, um, there's nothing wrong as long as these two people understand. Well, that's not even a place for me to go. I don't get to judge any of that. Okay. All right. So it's in our inability to true partnership with another human being. It doesn't sit here and say with men or with women, with another human being, right? Our egomania digs two disastrous pitfalls. Either we insist upon dominating the people we know, or we depend upon them far too much. If we lean too heavily on people, they will sooner or later fail us, for they are human too, and cannot possibly meet our incessant demands. In this way, our insecurity grows and festers. But listen how this is kind of a setup. I'm setting myself up to fail here by doing this. And what is it? Well, it's that spirit of alcohol that wants us alone. When we are alone and we're afraid, God, it's easy to suck that fear out of us. And that spirit feeds off fear. It feeds off disdain. It doesn't want you to have courage because then you'll fight it. And any fight against it's going to make it go away. Doesn't take much, actually. Right. But that's my own opinion. I know alcohol is a non-entity, but it still wanted me alone. It wanted me isolated because there I am I'm malleable and easily manipulated. And then I do stupid shit. When we habitually try to manipulate others, see, there's that manipulation word again, others to our own willful desires, they revolt and resist us heavily. Then we develop hurt feelings as a sense of persecution and a desire to retaliate. As we redouble our efforts to control and continue to fail, our suffering becomes acute and constant. Let's look up the word acute. We kind of know what it means, but let's get the meaning of it, right? Definition of acute.
Here's the definition of acute: of a bad, difficult, or unwelcome situation or phenomenon, present or experienced to a severe or intense degree.
Did you hear the word phenomenon in there? Phenomenon. It's actually manana, but phenomena goes great with it, right? All right. So, of a bad, difficult, or unwelcome situation. That's what we're going here. An unwelcome situation. And we have part of the time, we may not even know we're doing it. That denial runs so deep until we're aware of it. We don't even know that we're doing this. And that's why we need a program like Alcoholics Anonymous to help us become aware of these things. And it works really well for us because we do it together. It is not something done alone. So when we're talking to somebody else and they're like, yes, I've gone through that too, I know what that feels like, then we tend to feel a little less lonely about things that are going on with us. Hi, Patricia. It's good to see you again. And like our loneliness. There are very few people in this world that feel lonely like an alcoholic because it separates us so far from our brothers and sisters. We have not once sought to be in one in the family, to be a friend among friends, to be a worker among worker, to be a useful member of society. That's what I'm striving for, to be a useful member of society. I don't need to be more. If there's going to be more, then what I will do is I will let God take care of that part. It is not for me to do. Right? And what does this mean? Well, it means that we're going to have to sacrifice some of our thoughts, some of how we do things. If you can get to a point where that you're bringing something up, not because you want to be right, but because you want to find out the truth, then you've made a pretty big stride. You've made a pretty big stride. Seeking the truth is not easy. If it was easy, we'd all be doing it. But the human condition is this: easier, softer way. That is the human condition. Always we try to struggle to the top of the heap or to hide underneath it. We got to be one of many, like a group conscience. That's why group consciences are so important, so that we realize, what is the point of a group conscious? To figure out how to make the group better for the newcomer. That's really the whole point of a group conscience, right? This self-centered behavior blocked a partner relationship. A partner relationship, I keep putting ship in it. I'm just going to go ahead and do the whole sentence over. This self-centered behavior blocked partnership relation with any one of those about us. Of true brotherhood, we had small comprehension. That means I did not know. I was naive. And naive's not a bad thing. It just means that you do not know yet. Okay? But being naive also means that you are willing to learn. Okay? Naive and denial are not the same. They're not the same, right? All right. So, this message contained in step 4 was the first one I heard loud and clear. I hadn't seen myself in print before. It's kind of funny. Well, did they not read the stories in the back? They didn't, because you would have found yourself in print. That's what I usually recommend for anybody that is new. Get a big book. The first 164 pages, you're kind of supposed to cover with your sponsor. That's my experience anyway. Let me rephrase that. It's my experience that I cover the first 164 pages with the sponsor. It's not how everything is done. And what I do is I recommend that they read the stories in the back. The 5th edition is coming out pretty shortly, and it'll have newer stories, including Zoom meetings and the coronavirus and what people went through during that. All right. Prior to coming into AA, I knew of no place that could teach me how to become a person among persons. From my very first meeting, I saw people doing just that, and I wanted what they had. One of the reasons that I am happy, that I am a happy, sober alcoholic today, is that I'm learning this most important lesson. All right. That's going to be it for this one. I'm going to head to a 10 o'clock meeting. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. I love you. You know I do. Peace out and have a day.